My motivation is triggered by the fact that I love the sea and I love to be at sea. That's since I was a little boy, and I'm a grown-up boy, but I still enjoy every minute of it.
I've been scuba diving for the last 30-odd years, and I've witnessed the challenges the marine environment is faced with. I've witnessed the devastating effects of plastics floating around, constraining marine environment, getting stuck in the coral reefs or getting stuck to the fins of a turtle.
At the Ocean Cleanup, we're developing these technologies to clean up the plastic that's already trapped in the currents in the middle of the ocean. But that doesn't mean we should stop to make sure no more plastic enters the oceans in the first place. And that's a role people working in the maritime sector can definitely assist with.
%90 of all goods worldwide are transported by sea. Shipping is an essential part of the global economy, and harbours are its beating heart. Like the Port of Rotterdam, Europe's largest logistics and industrial hub, global population growth will drive up traffic on the world's seaways by a factor of 4 by the year 2050. If we're not careful, then pollution is set to increase too. Without action, our oceans are becoming a plastic soup. Corals are dying, and too much oil is ending up in the sea, sometimes as a result of illegal discharges. Ignorance and negligence have severely disrupted the delicate balance of nature. But the damage is being addressed. Laws and guidelines are constantly being adapted. Sailors, ship owners, ports and waste reception facilities, all the parties involved are becoming increasingly aware of their responsibility. The Port of Rotterdam is no exception. Here, the challenge is to receive and handle ships as best and efficiently as possible, to continuously improve the way waste is collected and processed. Much thought and effort goes into developing new recycling methods, for waste doesn't belong in the sea. The Port of Rotterdam Authority is committed to a clean sea, a policy that's bearing fruit.
Willy, dit is Dr. Botweg. Begrepen, antwoord. De eerste opvaart zit nu op een 3000 meter.
Here in Rotterdam, the Port Authority adopts a constructive approach to reducing water pollution. Waste collection, removal and processing is efficient and effective.
The Port of Rotterdam is by far the biggest port in Europe. On a yearly basis, we have approximately 30,000 ocean-going vessels visiting our port. We are the gateway to Europe with a consumer market of roughly 350 million people. The last few years we have seen more focus on waste management in our port. And that is also because of the fact that MARPOL regulation has changed since the beginning of 2013. There is a complete ban on dumping waste in the oceans. "20 years ago we saw large pieces of plastic floating in the oceans. Nowadays the new threat is the tiny pieces of plastics that are really everywhere, even in the stomach of seagulls, for instance.
Can already feel it has died slowly from starvation, so it has used all its fat and even muscle tissue before it died. Yeah, it looks like a big lump of paraffin, which is discharged by a lot of ships when cleaning the hulls.
Paraffin floats like a cork in birds' stomachs, blocking their digestive systems. They slowly starve to death. In addition to paraffin, small pieces of plastic and other waste collect in their stomachs too.
These birds seem to be flying around quite happily, but almost every one of these fulmars that you see flying around carries plastic in its stomach, carries chemicals in its tissues.
If everyone acknowledges their responsibility and refrains from dumping waste overboard, then pollution is avoided. The Port of Rotterdam Authority has developed a strict waste collection protocol for her guests.
In 2013, MARPOL has enforced more stringent requirements with regards to garbage disposal. Earlier, you could dispose most of the garbage at sea depending on how far away from land you were, except plastics. But now, they don't allow discharge of anything at sea.
For many years now, Maersk has had a strict no-dumping policy and trained its ship's crews. They know how to handle waste, which is sorted and separated into 20 different types aboard ship.
Als we straks aan boord gaan van de Maersk, dan zien we goed dat het afval voorgesorteerd staat. We zien dat ze het afval wat uit de machinekamer komt allemaal apart aanbieden. En op die manier kunnen wij het ook apart verwerken.
The last years, the Port of Rotterdam is clearly witnessing an uptake in marine awareness, the sensitivity of the ecology, of the biodiversity, and in that context, the particular importance to collecting and dealing with waste.
Wijnand, kom maar deze kant op.
We've seen an increase in the number of vessels submitting waste to the port, and we've seen an increase in volume submitted. Last year, we took in 430,000 tons. Businesses in the port area make an effort by increasing their investment levels, which can be witnessed through, for instance, new barges that are being used to collect the various sources of waste.
But these successes are not enough. Environmental organizations such as the Worldwide Fund for Nature are sounding the alarm.
The ocean looks quite untouched, but in reality there are a lot of problems. There is overfishing, there is pollution from oil and mining, plastic pollution, there is warming of the sea, coral reefs are dying, mangroves are disappearing, fish are disappearing, so it's a total crisis actually. The Worldwide Fund for Nature invests in ocean protection because the ocean is so important for the living creatures. It contains most of the wild animals that we still have on our planet. It provides our society with proteins which are important for 3 billion people. And also in terms of economy, about 350 million jobs will be lost if we destroy the ocean's ecosystem. People that work in offshore industry or in coastal development or in harbors, they can really do a lot to help save the ocean.
Everyone involved in shipping bears a responsibility to the sea, to nature. 2-day courses dealing with marine awareness and the balance between people, planet and profit are given at Rotterdam Zoo.
The phytoplankton, or the small algae in the ocean, they do photosynthesis, and as a byproduct they produce oxygen. More than half of the oxygen that we breathe right now comes from the sea.
I learned that the sea is responsible for over half the oxygen production in the world. That was something I didn't know. I thought the rainforest was the biggest oxygen producer, but it's the sea.
Ook de kwal. Want alles wat in de zee met de stroom meedrijft, valt onder de norm plankton.
The course is a mix of knowledge, of independent information about all the challenges that shipping has with regards to the environment, and it's built of workshops where they exchange ideas, opinions. That really works on the mindset more than only knowledge, I think. we have noticed a difference in the attitude of students over the last years, and especially if you look at the mindset that they have when they enter the course. It used to be quite conservative. The shipping industry can be quite conservative. What you see now is that the students, the maritime officers that are in training now, enter the course more open-minded with regards to sustainability. Then the food chain, I already mentioned, phytoplankton is actually the basis of all life in the sea. It all starts with those small algae.
It all starts right at the bottom of the food chain with phytoplankton, single-celled algae that absorb carbon dioxide and produce sugars and oxygen. The algae are eaten by zooplankton, tiny organisms that drift in the water. The small fish that feed on zooplankton are eaten by larger fish, which might very well end up on our plates. Oil and plastic in the marine environment are a significant danger to plankton and fish stocks, and therefore to our diet.
I think at the moment attitude is the most important. The knowledge is already there in the world. We know about the problems there are and we know about what we have to do about the problems, but we have to change our attitude.
By separating garbage, we can recycle it and we can use it again, which has less impact on the environment. I mean, there is an end to the natural resources we have on this planet. So the more we can recycle, the better it is. As a company, but also as a port like Rotterdam, we have to provide the guys with the means to separate the waste and land it ashore.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'll see you the next time.
Yes.
Maybe.
Thank you so much, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
In this company we have established a number of green ports around the world, and this is where we are supposed to land our garbage. So we keep it until we are in a green port like Rotterdam, which is a green port, and this is one of the places where we land our garbage.
All solid and liquid waste from the engine room and galley is brought ashore and separated. Other ships' waste is processed here too, like residual cargo and damaged goods. Plastic waste is converted into plastic granulate, which is used to make, for instance, lifebuoys. Metals are melted down and used to make a ship bell. From glass, we make cullet, the raw material for light bulbs. Household waste that can't be recycled is incinerated, and the heat energy produced is collected and put to good use. Oily sludge is refined to produce oil, water, and a sediment that can be used to build roads. The oil can be used in diesel.
The current era is defined by great challenges the planet is faced with. It's not only economic challenges, it's planetary, climate-related challenges as a consequence of a rise in population, in a rise of our environmental footprint, leading to loss of biodiversity and climate change. The port wants to encourage and be an active player in the so-called cradle-to-cradle or circular economy principles. This is meant to say that you try and avoid any waste streams that there are and reuse as much as the materials that are available in order to create new value. We link and combine efforts, and thus we close loops, we close waste streams, we avoid inefficient use thereof, and thus making the business processes more sustainable and effective and long-lasting.
These efforts have not been in vain. Since 2013, the Port of Rotterdam has worked together with some 50 companies, government bodies and other institutions to remove plastics from the environment and avoid floating litter. One of the parties to this agreement is the Ocean Cleanup, a young, innovative company that was established out of a concern for nature.
For me, it all started when I was 16 years old and I was diving in Greece. And then I became rather annoyed by the fact that I came across more plastic bags than fish. In the past, there have been many ideas to clean up these oceanic garbage patches, but they're all based on vessels with nets that would go out and start fish for plastic. So I wondered, why would you go through the oceans if the oceans can go through you?
The ocean cleanup has developed a way for the oceans to clean themselves. Within 20 years, the method will purge the seas of most of the plastic that floats in them today. That's in sharp contrast to the 79,000 years that it's calculated to take if we deploy ships to scoop it out.
I came up with this passive system, sort of a large floating V that's attached to the seabed. That way the current brings the plastic towards me instead of me having to go after the plastics. And that way we showed that we can clean up half the Pacific garbage patch using a single system in just 10 years' time.
But what can you do with all that plastic? Perpetual Plastic intends to use the plastic collected as a raw material for 3D printers. Within 2 years, the company aims to become the world's leading source of recycled raw materials for the 3D printer market. Using this mobile installation, the company shows prospects how plastic waste can be given a new, useful lease of life.
What happens is that when people put their waste through the installation, they see and smell and feel and see it transformed into something else. They realize that their plastic waste has value, so they will not just throw away their plastic waste anymore. We are reinventing the way that plastic products are made, and we are fundamentally changing the relationship that people have with those products.
Another example is that the port does take in quite a bit of waste that currently goes to incineration or landfill. The port wishes to make true progress in investing in facilities that will treat such plastics and convert that to oil that can be used as part of new business activities and processes. This process will mean a significant reduction of the impact on the environment, and it will produce a valuable source for new products and activities.
Oil floats on water, and when we mix the oil with the water, then after a while, another layer of oil is created. However, traces of oil are left behind, leaving a toxic trail that is a present danger to the plankton at the very bottom of our food chain. Oil can be a threat to nature. Transshipment activities are ongoing in the Port of Rotterdam 24 hours a day. Oil, but other hazardous liquids too. Naturally, the work will be carried out in a safe and sustainable way. In order to limit the environmental and economic consequences of accidents as much as possible, the Port Authority Oil Screen Task Force was formed. In the event of a spillage, specially equipped vessels are dispatched to the scene to deploy oil screens around the leaning ship to prevent the liquid from spreading further. The spill is subsequently sucked off the surface of the water and processed in an oil factory.
Altogether, the efforts are good progress. We will still need to continue on our journey. To that extent, we've signed a multi-stakeholder agreement with various parties with the aim to attract investment, allowing us to convert, for instance, plastics to oil that can subsequently be used in other value business processes.
Another project generating value from plastic waste is the Recycled Park, where recycled plastic is used as the raw material for making these elements floating in the river.
We're currently working on the feasibility study, where we're setting up the necessary collaboration between naval services, plastic recyclers, research institutes, designers and architects to retrieve the plastics pollution from the river before it reaches the sea, and to see what's the best way of recycling these plastics.
The plastic fisher removes plastic waste from the water before the river reaches the sea. Today, operators are looking for a suitable location to deploy the installation.
We gaan nu richting Zeeën de Petroleumhaven. Dat is onder andere een locatie waar dus vaak veel vuil dus opgestapeld drijft.
Like this ship, the plastic fisher is a floating platform with two outstretched arms which trap the plastic. A central collector takes the plastic out of the water. Recycled Park's strength is that plastic is removed from the environment sustainably and recycled to make floating elements which form the basis for aquatic parks. Here, birds can build their nests, and beneath the surface are spaces where fish can lay their eggs. Mussels too can attach themselves to them. The benefit to cities is that Recycled Park facilitates new green zones in built-up areas on the water. The harbour area is increasingly becoming a place where various different parties work together to handle waste flows. The Port of Rotterdam will continue in its commitment to the prevention of pollution and focus on generating greater awareness with respect to harmful waste flows, preferably together with you.